Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, part of the Bet Rivers Network. And we come to you on an historic night as the Knicks, over half a century in the making, finally win a championship. Something, hey, I didn't know if I'd ever see again. I'm sure many Knicks fans thought they would never see again, considering what's gone on sometimes in the last 2 decades. But a team that came together over the last couple of years, was put together brilliantly by Leon and friends. And let's be honest, a deserving champion in every way. A team that came together, got better, and then withstood what was a young, brash, physical opponent in the finals in the Spurs, who finished off a clearly beat up champion in the Thunder. But the bottom line is this: the Knicks dominated the East, and then they did what they had to do over 5 games. And yes, there's a lot of what ifs if you go back and look over this series from the Spurs standpoint. They had commanding leads in every game. They don't know how to finish quarters. They don't know how to finish games. That's part of their youth. They are not complete yet. Their 3 stars are very, very young, and that's obviously a factor. But you don't care about that tonight. Wherever you are in the metropolitan area, whether you're in Manhattan or anywhere in the 5 boroughs or anywhere in the tri-state area, and you've been a long-time Knicks fan, and listen, there are Knicks fans everywhere, as we know. And I've said this many times from the, 3.5 decades I was on the air at the Fan. No team captured the hearts and the passions of this city the way the Knicks did. And you saw that again during this run. And you're seeing that tonight as obviously this celebration in San Antonio, where there were countless Knicks fans in the building. And I'm sure they're reveling now in this victory. It wasn't pretty, but this wasn't a pretty series. This was a series where the Knicks didn't play great, partially because the Spurs were physical, partially because Wemby is an incredible defensive force, partially because the Spurs played really good defense. But the Spurs were inexperienced, they were young, they were incomplete, and they did not know how to finish games in the fourth quarter. The theme tonight was the same as it's been throughout this entire series. Spurs start fast. They melt down a little bit in the second quarter. They melt down a little bit in the third quarter, and then they melt down in the fourth quarter. The only game that was different was game 2, where the Knicks blew the 14-point lead, and the Spurs came back. And obviously game 3, where the Spurs showed the only time poise in this series, when they came and won the game at the Garden. But 5 games, a championship, and I thought the only way, and I came down and started before they named the MVP. I'm sure it's Brunson. He had a brilliant game tonight. This was the first time in this series where Brunson was the dominant figure, where he played a great game. Tonight, he played a sensational game. He carried the Knicks completely on his back the entire evening. He scored almost half their points. He made shots. He was 14 of 27. The only time he has come anywhere near 50% in the series. 45 points tonight. And I thought that going into today's game, if the Knicks won it, and I thought after the second quarter and after the third quarter that the Knicks would find a way to win it in the fourth quarter, because it was following the same exact theme over and over and over. And the only way OG wasn't going to win the MVP was to have a bad game tonight and have Brunson have a big game. Well, that's exactly what happened. OG had a rare bad game tonight. He was in foul trouble. He shot 3 for 11 from the field after shooting 58 from the floor, 56 from 3, and 92 from the foul line in the first 4 games of the series. You know how brilliant he's been throughout the entire playoffs. 11 points tonight, foul trouble, but Brunson picked it up. He put forth the big effort tonight. He put forth the superstar game tonight. That will carry him, I'm sure, to the MVP if you care about such things. But let's be honest. The first 2 games in this series, belong to Towns. The overall first 4 games belong to OG, and then the clincher clearly lock, stock, and barrel belong to Brunson. So now you have it, and you can take time and listen, there are generations of Knick fans that are feeling different things tonight. The ones like me who saw championships with the great teams of the late 60s and the early 70s that won 2 championships. We saw those teams win. I experienced firsthand the 94 quest, the 99 trip to the finals. Okay. So we had seen that. And then it has been a long time coming, and another generation of Knick fans who had not seen a championship. And the last group, now approaching 30, had seen nothing but heartbreak, nothing but bad management, bad play, indecisiveness, until things changed a couple of years ago and a new regime came in and they built a team meticulously around a point guard who will now go down in the annals of Knick history as one of their great players without any question. We can sit and talk about Brunson's place in Knick history when his career is over. It's not over. Hopefully there's more championships, there's more big games, there's more thrills and more scoring exploits in his future. But right now, he is the toast of New York. New York hasn't had a lot to cheer about in recent years. Yeah, the Yankees win, but the Yankees winning is a ho-hum situation. The Yankees winning championships is what everyone looks for, and that hasn't happened in a very long time. So now this town is going to revel in the Knicks' success this weekend, obviously in a parade in the days to come, and the city will come together as it does on those rare occasions. And no team brings the entire city, the entire tri-state area, the 5 boroughs and the tri-state area together like the Knicks do. This has been a special team and a special run. And they were brilliantly constructed. Every move has been the right move. Every trade has been nuanced. After painstakingly making a decision to change coaches off success because they didn't think that coach could take them the final steps. Remember how many people the Knicks looked at and talked to and offered the job to before they landed on Mike Brown. And there was a lot of people who were like, I don't want this guy. This isn't the right guy. And even during the season, he was getting grief. And Towns was getting grief. And Bridges was getting grief. And think of what Towns did. Now, tonight, and listen, I try to leave officiating out of it, and I try to be extremely objective. And I thought some of the hysterical stuff with the fans and the officiating in this series was overdone. But tonight, they protected Wemby in a way that was almost unfair. And some of those calls, the reversal on Towns was a bad call. The loose ball foul on OG was a bad call. And we all know what could have been called when Brunson landed on Wemby's foot. But that would have meant the series was over. And the NBA wasn't going to do that. Little secret economically. The series cashes out completely from a TV standpoint. And this was the highest rated, or will be the highest rated TV series for the finals in the last 30 years. Now, the one thing, it ended in 5. 6 turns it into a big moneymaker for television. 7 is the bonus, but 6 turns it into the moneymaker. That is the point that you want to get to in these finals is 6 games. They fell short. Okay, it happens. And again, it was the same theme over again. And let's be honest, it was an ugly finish. The Knicks didn't play that well down the stretch. They missed a bunch of key free throws. They took some bad shots, but the Spurs could do nothing again offensively when they had to, over and over again. And one guy jumps out to me. Fox, from a standpoint of the Spurs, is going to have a very, very long summer. He cost them what should have been a win in game 4, and then didn't turn around and vindicate himself tonight. Had an absolute nightmare. I mean, 3 for 15. 3 for 15 from the floor. And they're still giving him the ball late. 3 for 15. 1 for 8 from 3. Castle, who I thought had a really good series and a great playoff. He had a bad game tonight. He was 1 for 10 from the floor. So when you realize that your starting backcourt shot 4 for 25 tonight. 4 for 25. Harper kept the Spurs in the game offensively just the way Brunson kept the Knicks in the game offensively. Harper had a sensational game. I understand there was a shot late he missed, and he missed the free throw, but the bottom line is he got a little tired. He had a great night tonight. He scored 25 points. He's got an incredible future. Wemby had 19 points and 14 rebounds and 5 blocks all in the first half. Played a good game, but he was 7 of 19 from the floor and 1 for 6 from 3, and clearly tired again. Played 37 minutes, tired again. They didn't get the ball into the right people's hands in the right spots. They could not execute in the fourth quarter. And let's be honest, they're going to look at this series and realize they have a lot of growing up to do. And I think when the smoke clears, they're going to be happy with their season. And they have some finishing touches to put on this team before it's ready to win a championship. There's no question about that. Their bench has to get stronger. They need a real definitive point guard leader, and they need some muscle at the 4 spot to protect Wembanyama. There's no question about that. And obviously the Thunder are going to use whatever resources they have to get better because they know they have to deal with Wemby now. And everyone now in the East will try to figure out a way to beat the Knicks. And when you look at this Knick run, which had the incredible winning streak and the dominant games, that was not how they played in this series. In this series, they struggled mightily. Brunson struggled mightily until tonight. They got down big in most of these games. They got destroyed. They got outscored. Counting tonight. Okay. 57 points in 5 games in the first quarter, an average of more than 10 points per first quarter. They were behind. They were run out of the building in the first quarter of every game. But they chipped away. And the Spurs didn't know how to manage Wemby's minutes, find alternate scoring sources, and how to execute at the end of games and the end of quarters. And that's why the Knicks win in 5. The better team won. The more complete team won. The more experienced team won. The more cohesive team won. Kudos. This is a wonderful Knick unit. One you can be incredibly proud of. Brunson for his leadership and obviously his ability to take the ball and, hey, no matter how many shots it takes, no matter what it takes, he's going to find a way. And tonight the shots fell and he dominated the entire game tonight. This was a virtuoso performance by Brunson. OG had a bad game tonight, but he had a brilliant playoff and the first 4 games. And the tip will be remembered as one of the storied plays in New York history. Towns did not finish the series strong. He had foul trouble. He did not have a big night tonight, but his first 2 games sent a message and delivered a big message in the first 2 games, and his physical play really tired Wemby out. And remember, he's going against a player who will dominate this league in the years to come. That was his job, that was his role, and he did it very well. Except for a couple of brief moments, Bridges was really good. Really good. And Hart gives you every bit of that. He gives you every bit of his heart every minute he's on the floor. The bench was erratic in this series. Extremely erratic. Extremely erratic again tonight. You know, in the first half, the Knicks bench shot 2 for 16 from the floor. 2 for 16. Okay. And the shots weren't magically going down for these guys. Shamet shot 2 of 7. Those 2 baskets he made were big. Alvarado shot 0 for 5. Clarkson 1 for 4. Okay. The bench scored only a couple of points, but their bench did the score throughout the series, unless you count Harper. And Harper's not really a bench player. He's a starter. They have 6 starters, and that's how they play, and they rotate them, and that's what they have. Johnson gave them very little off the bench, and they got nothing else off the bench. But the magical shots that went down play after play after play in the end of the Atlanta series and the Philly series and the Cleveland series did not go down in this series. Those shots did not go down. This was painstaking. This was grueling. They had to claw their way back. They clawed their way to a championship every step of the way against a physical, brazen, the Spurs are brazen physical team that is growing up. And they weren't growing up yet. And the Knicks took advantage of that. And then tonight, Brunson was the best player on the floor. Harper was terrific, but Brunson was the best player on the floor by a mile tonight. This was his game. This was his finishing touch. This was him taking back that MVP. And you can make a case that rightfully that should be his. OG was the best player in the series for the first 4 games, but he wasn't there tonight. And tonight, Brunson was the reason why they not only won, he was the only reason why the game was even competitive this evening. Knicks scored 94 points, and he scores 45 of them. This was a brilliant, brilliant performance. And once again, the Spurs tired, and once again, they lacked execution, and they lacked sophistication. It's something they'll learn. It's something their coaching staff will learn. And they'll make some changes in this team. They arrived early. And they showed their youth. They showed their ability. They showed their physicality. But they also showed their youth and their inexperience and their lack of poise. And I can tell you this hasn't been a great time for New York City. These haven't been great years recently for New York City. When you walk around New York City these days and you're someone who loves it like I do, you're disappointed. And this is something that hopefully will not only unite the city, but also lift the city, because the city can use it. The city can use a popular champion. The city can use a special team. And Brunson clearly will be elevated to a very special spot that only certain athletes ever get to experience in this town. And he's earned that. You know, I think about the guys who were maligned this year. Towns was maligned. Brown was maligned. Bridges was maligned. Brown tried to do things subtly different. A lot of people didn't think it was working. In the Atlanta series, there was a complete lack of faith. You go back and listen to what was going on in the city at that time, and people were jumping ship. Brown had an idea. And running that offense through Towns, which did not work in this series. Remember, this was going to be a very different series, and he was going to have to take a very different role. And he did. And he set a tone in the first two games that was critical to their victories. And until Brunson got back to being Brunson again, the rest of the team did a good job lifting him, especially the other starters, especially OG, especially Towns, especially Bridges. This is a team. And Towns grew up before our eyes. And Brown, as a head coach, got better, and everything came to fruition. And Bridges, who I felt it was critical, and I remember saying this during the early part of the Atlanta series, it is critical if they want to take a deep run, they have got to get Bridges back into the team, back into the community of the team. He's outside it right now. And you can banish him, put him on a bench, and get rid of him and call the trade a disaster and everything else, or you can bring him back. And Brown did a brilliant job of bringing him back and getting an incredible amount of efficiency out of him in big spots all the way through. And tonight, his defense is always impeccable. And tonight, he gave you 14 big points on a night where scoring was hard to come by. Let's be honest. Spurs shot 38%. The Knicks won and shot 35%. This was a gritty, grimy, ugly, tough, physical championship type game. They're not always pretty. You got to scrape, and you got to claw, and you got to fight, and the Knicks did. And now all these fans who hightailed it down to San Antonio, I hope they all got in tonight. I hope they all got the seats they wanted tonight, and I hope they all got the experience they wanted tonight. And now I hope they spend the evening in San Antonio safely, but also reveling in this team's first championship in 53 years. That's a long time. It's a lifetime. I mean, I was in high school the last time they won. I remember the teams very well. Very different teams. Obviously, the 69-70 team is revered as the classic champion for so many reasons. It was an incredible unit. And it had the same kind of versatility and the same kind of coolness that this team has. The team had legendary figures on it. You're talking Willis, DeBusschere, Bradley, Barnett, Fraser. You're talking legendary players. It makes a difference, okay? These guys might not, other than Brunson, go down in that kind of annals and be revered the way some of those guys are revered, but they are now all champions. Now, I gather Sal went down for the game. That's what Mons is telling me. Crazy Sal went down to San Antonio. I don't know if he went by himself or he went with somebody else, or he's got somebody else footing the bill, or he paid his own way. We'll find out in a second because I see Sal right now. So I don't know where he is in the building. Sal, what's going on?
Mike, this is I actually don't believe it. Right behind me there, the New York Knicks just celebrated winning the Larry O'Brien Trophy. I can't even comprehend it. All those years listening to you and Dog talking about those Knicks, the heartache with Starks and Ewing and the suspensions, obviously the 25 years of mess and misery. The Knicks are NBA champions, and yes, I'm here. And I did what you would do. I took my producer for my podcast. I'm broke. I got fired. I
Nice.
got no money, but I'm here. No, I don't. I have no
Now,
money.
wait a second. How did you? So you decided to take a flight down, right? You take
Yes,
a flight down. How far are you staying from the arena?
we are like 20 minutes from the arena.
All right. And how hard was it to get tickets?
Tickets were like they were actually easier today. It was like $1,300
Get in the
per
building.
ticket. Well, that's what we paid. It was they actually went down closer to game time.
But
We paid
where were you sitting?
in the upper level, but like the third row. So not awful.
How much of the building were Knicks fans?
I would say 60-40 Spurs, but it was pretty. I mean, Mike, it was intense as you could imagine. I've been to plenty of playoff games at the Garden. This was as intense an atmosphere I've ever been in. The Spurs fans could feel the Knicks fans tasting it. They didn't like that. And then at the end, it was just, I mean, I'm sure you could hear it on TV. The Knicks fans were, let's go Knicks, the defensive chance. But I would still say 60-40 Spurs overall.
And you could see the drip, drip, drip of this game that it was going to go the Knicks' way. I mean, it was the same script we've seen over and over. The Spurs were letting this game get away from them. I mean, they should have been up 20 in the first quarter. Okay, I mean that the Knicks were awful. I mean, the Knicks made 3 of their first 21 shots, and luckily they weren't down 25. But the Spurs did the same thing. They just let the Knicks claw their way back quarter after quarter. And let's be honest, Brunson didn't have a great series, but he had as good a game tonight as he's ever played. I mean, this was a virtuoso performance tonight.
Without Brunson, they're toast. And I started to get the sick feeling early on. I'm like, uh-oh. Because the Knicks have been playing with fire all series long. At some point, I felt like if they get behind again, they're not going to be able to do this. And the feeling in the building, even though the Knicks were down 10, whatever it was, it felt like it was 30. But then Brunson brought him back a little bit. The Spurs continue. De'Aaron Fox stinks. He may be the dumbest basketball player.
Well, first of all, what he did the other night was criminal. But tonight, you wondered if he would respond. Why is he still taking shots in the final 3 minutes? He's 3 for 15. He and Castle went 3 for 25 from the floor.
When he chucks up a shot, I'm thinking that's a win for the Knicks. And then the Knicks had it. You nailed it. They had it exactly where they wanted it. Yep. Close them out. It's what they've done all postseason long. They were up 3-0, obviously, they closed out the Hawks in a big game, closed out the Sixers, closed out the Cavs. Tonight, again, in a closeout game, 4-0. And then you see it down the stretch. Close game. What did you think was going to happen? Brunson takes over, and they close them out. I can't. The Knicks won the championship. What? 53 years. This is unbelievable.
We knew this team was good this year. I thought they could get to the finals. I never thought, first of all, I didn't think anybody was beating the Thunder. I didn't know about the Thunder going to have the injuries. I don't think the Knicks would have beat the Thunder, but that's an argument for another day. Who cares? It doesn't matter. I thought they matched up much better against San Antonio because San Antonio is young and they have trouble scoring. And San Antonio just didn't understand how to close out these quarters. And their coach was no help. I mean, I'm not trying to pick on him, but he was absolutely no help. And Wemby got tired late in the games. And, the Knicks weren't always beautiful down the stretch. They weren't always effective down the stretch, but San Antonio was so bad down the stretch, it was unbelievable.
San Antonio choked away game 4, and you could feel the pressure getting to them. Look, they're going to be a problem. Yes. I mean, with Dylan Harper, with Wemby, I don't want to face them anymore. I'm glad the Knicks got theirs now because they are going to be I've never seen somebody impact the game defensively the way that Wembanyama does.
He changes the entire game. And the other thing is, Harper and Castle are going to be tremendous players. You get rid of Fox, you get a legitimate guy who can run the offense, and you get him a power forward, and they're going to be absolutely hell on wheels. There's no question about it. They're going to be really – so is the Thunder. I mean, the Thunder's going to go get more players too. So, listen, that's fine. Doesn't matter. The Knicks are the champions. For the first time in 53 years. And you know what? This town needed a championship for a long time. It's needed a championship in the worst way, and we all thought it would probably be the Yankees that would deliver it. Now we're into a giant resurgence, and this could now be a good time for New York sports because the Yankees this year, if their pitching gets healthy, could be really good and have a chance. And the Giants are going into a new era. There's no question about that. So, things are looking up in New York sports, and it starts obviously with a championship tonight. I'll tell you one thing. Stay off the floats. All right, stay off the float. That's the worst mistake I ever made in my life. I had no right being on that float, and I was so uncomfortable going on that float that day when the Rangers won the championship. I don't want any part of that ever again. I would, if I could do one thing over, I would never go on the float. So stay off the floats.
I don't think I'm here. I'm going to enjoy that. Mike, I've been a loser my whole life with my teams. Finally, I get a winner. I don't need to go to the parade. I'm going to soak this, enjoy this, soak in every moment of this. And it was just surreal to see James Dolan, an owner who was vilified by the fan base for how many years, hold up the Larry O'Brien trophy that the Knicks are. I can't
All right, we
think
lose Sal there.
about that storyline. How many?
I think we're having a little transmission trouble with Sal right now, but we got the idea. So Sal took his producer for his podcast down to the game. Very nice of him there. I used to take Sal everywhere with us. I took all the guys, this dog and I did, when we go to these games, and we'd always go to all the big playoff games and championship games. And, we rode back after the Giants won Super Bowls and stuff like that. And we would, hop out of town and, all jump into one of the jets and get home in those days. It's a remarkable thing. And like I said, 20 years ago, I would have been there tonight. And I understand the idea of going there. I really do. It's amazing how many Knicks fans went. I told you this morning how many called me and told me they were going. But hey, it's 53 years. And listen, this will wear off eventually. It won't be total vindication for Dolan. All right. He'll do something crazy sometime. But the bottom line is all fans want is their team to win. That's all they care about. They don't care about anything else. All they want to do is win. That's all they ever want to do. That's why so much is made of owners and personalities. All fans want is their team to be managed properly. Now this team went from being managed horribly. Nobody wanted to come to New York. Remember when free agents didn't even want any part of coming to New York? You couldn't get free agents to even consider coming to New York. And now New York is not only a destination, they are the destination. The Knicks are the center of the basketball universe. Madison Square Garden is the mecca. It is the center of the basketball universe. And the Knicks are NBA champions. Okay? And I'm not going to sit here and worry about which celebrity is a big fan and which one's a phony. I could care. You think I have time to worry about stuff like that? Who cares? I mean, if you really care how much somebody's a fan or not a fan, you know what your relationship is with your team. You know what your team means. Do people jump on the bandwagon all the time in every sport when they get a championship team? Everybody started wearing Knicks stuff, okay? Just like everybody would be wearing Yankee hats in October if they're in the World Series. That's just the way it goes. There's nothing wrong with that. You want the city to unite, and not everybody is a diehard. You're going to get people who jump on the bandwagon. So what? If you're a diehard, don't resent that. Just understand and appreciate what you put into your team and what you get out of your team. That's all. If you're someone who lives and dies with every play with the Knicks, well, then you know what? Your level of appreciation is so high now, has been so spectacular during this run. You don't care what someone else is doing or thinking or anything else. Just enjoy. But I'm happy for the Garden people. I've been involved with the Garden people for many years. I worked there. I always considered the Garden one of my homes. The Garden has always been great to me and and very hospitable to me in every way. I love the people who work there. Love them. The guards, the ushers, every one of them. I love them. They're the best guys in the world. I work there. I love all of them. I'm happy for the building. I'm happy for the players. I'm happy for the coaches. I'm happy for the owner. I'm happy for all of them. And I'm happy for all you fans who have lived and died with this team. And you know who you are. Okay. And now you have a championship team and hopefully a run. Hopefully a run. You've got sound management. You have a team that should be good for I don't see why it wouldn't be good for some years to come. You got a great nucleus, and now you are NBA champions. Did I think they would be NBA champions this year? No, I thought it would be the Thunder over the Knicks. The Thunder didn't keep the date. The Spurs did, and they weren't ready. They were ready to beat the Thunder. They beat them in game 6. They beat them in game 7. I know the Thunder weren't 100%, but tough luck. That's part of the deal. Hey, all those years with the Lakers and the Celtics and the Knicks in the early 70s and stuff, injuries played a huge part so many times. I can't tell you. You just have to just play with what you have. If the Busher got hurt, tough. If Reed got hurt, tough. If Havlicek got hurt, tough. If West got hurt, tough. You know what? You played with who could play. Same thing here. Same thing for the Thunder. You play with who you can play. That's part of the game. And for the Knicks, they stayed healthy. They stayed ready. They were well coached. They were cohesive. And now they're champions. And you know what? Because you know what they're going to say to them tonight? Or maybe they've already said it to them. It's what Parcells said to the Giants in Pasadena after they won the first Super Bowl. Fellas, they can never take this away from you. They can never say you couldn't do it, and they can never take it away from you. That ring is forever. Think of the great players that don't have one. That ring is forever. And I know there's players out there that get multiple ones. And especially, obviously, if you've been around the Yankees for years, there's a lot of guys with multiple rings. And the Spurs as a team have a lot of rings. The Celtics and the Lakers have a lot of rings. And the Knicks don't. But you know what? Now they have a ring. And nobody can ever take that away from them. Ever. They are champions. And they're not champions just for this year. They're champions forever. I want to thank all the guys, my guys, all my production people, Mons and everybody, all the guys. You know what? They put in a lot of hours late at night. They put in a lot of hours on the weekends. Never complain. When I say I want to do a show this morning and then do one tonight, they never complain. I don't have to leave my house to do these. Okay, I just have to walk downstairs after I watch the game. I want to thank them. They've done a very good job. They've done a great job with all this stuff. I put a lot of pressure on them time-wise to be prepared to go 10 o'clock in the morning and then turn around and go, 12:15 at night. We're still on the air. So I want to thank the guys for doing a hell of a job during this whole run. So thank you very much, because I love being able to do these post games. I've always loved doing them. I love the immediacy of it. I like having the first word. Okay. I've always enjoyed that. I don't need to see what someone else says or what someone else analyzes before I come and do it. I do it cold after I watch the game myself. I don't even watch 1 minute of the post game. I didn't even see them carry it. I didn't even see them get the trophy. I'm sure Brunson won the MVP. I don't even know that yet because I haven't been at the TV. As soon as the game ends, I walk downstairs. As soon as the game ends, I go downstairs and go right on the air. The lights are already on and we go. And I want to thank my crew for that because they've done a really good job. So they've put in a lot of weekends and a lot of late nights, and I appreciate it. Thank you. They do a great job. They really do. That's why we've been fortunate to be so successful with this stuff, but they do a great job. They're a good crew. Thanks very much for that. And to all you Knicks fans, congratulations. And to the team and to Jim, who I've known for a very long time. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to all the guys there. The Villanova contingent and everybody else. Great run, historic run, fun run. And this town needed a championship, needed a champion, needed to feel good about something. So the Knicks have now provided that. So everybody get behind it and have a fun couple of days and a fun parade and everything else that goes with it. The Knicks. Do you ever think you'd be hearing this? NBA champions. Think about that. Let that roll around a couple of times. NBA champions. You know, not LeBron, not the Warriors, not the Lakers, not the Celtics, not the Thunder, the Knicks, the New York Knicks. We'll see you later.